It's Song Talk Radio.
Greetings and welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show where we talk about songwriters and try to all get better at writing songs. My name is Phil Emery, and Neil's away today doing something that he feels is more important, spending time with his family, and, because it's his birthday, so.
Welcome.
Yeah, what people. But we're very excited to have a longtime guest of the show. And I guess he was back on our show back in 2016, back in the much before times. Someone who I thought as a really fine jazz songwriter, kind of a very pure jazz songwriter, was doing lots of other stuff, and that's Steven Taetz. Steve, thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be back.
So you first came on and you played these just perfect cocktail-soaked jazz standards almost, and I just love them because I love, the American Songbook. I love all that stuff from the 40s. So I always thought of you as a very much of a pure jazz songwriter, but you actually just got nominated for a folk award. What's that about?
Super exciting to be nominated. As I was mentioning, just in passing, we were nominated for Emerging Artist of the Year, which is quite strange, having been in the game a little while. But excited to be recognized and maybe come out to St. John's to see the award ceremonies.
No, that'll be great to have you. You have to stop by the house when you come out.
Exciting,
It'll be great.
I started out in 2013, and I was working on rootsy Americana music, so it's kind of a full circle in that way. I wanted to record in 2018 some jazz standards and write my own material in that way. I like the arrangement style and that sort of storytelling and the freedom of jazz, but I really enjoy the song at the core and get back into that, writing all originals for this most recent album. It was really exciting.
Yeah, and if you go to your the website, you actually have a few releases, and they're quite different, which is nice because it's such a hard thing to know what to do these days, because it's, should you have your brand? Everyone's talking about, you got to have your brand, and then you just stay on your brand. You just do your brand all the time. Or do you do what you're doing, which is lots of different kinds of stuff? I mean, have you thought about that whole sort of staying on one style or wandering or doing what you do? Or
I think part of the fun of being an artist and a songwriter is to reinvent and to reimagine what the next project will be. Just a welcome to my puppy Tupper walking in the background. So it's really exciting to be able to shift and move in different directions. For this project, 2023, I put out a full album that was roots, pop music, folk pop. And I was really excited to work with songwriters in Nashville and kind of hone in on what makes their writing unique. Emma Lee from Canada, who lives now in Nashville, and Mary Bragg, Jill Barber, who's based in Vancouver, Jenn Grant. So writing with them was really, really a fun process of collaboration, and I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to what an authentic voice is for myself. So it's nice to explore and find what's more and more true as we go along.
Well, doing different styles can be tough because sometimes it does sound like people doing one style who are trying something out. Whereas most of your stuff, like, I've never really thought about it. It always sounded very authentic. Like, I think I was listening to today, and it's like, if I just heard this one song in isolation, I didn't know who it was, I wouldn't sort of think, oh, this is a jazz guy doing, root stuff, or this is a roots guy doing jazz stuff. It always does seem to be authentically you, which I thought was kind of interesting. But and what was working going down to Nashville like? Did you have any insights on their process or how it differed from your own?
Well, I actually I've not been there in person. So during the pandemic, it was really exciting to connect with folks who had all of this time on their hands now, for good or bad, and be able to connect with them, collaborate remotely, and sit here in this spot while they're in Nashville and write tunes. I have a little keyboard over here that I used to write. It's covered in other instruments right now, but that's what we were working on to write some of that material. And yeah, it was an interesting process to, sometimes I find with those writers, it's almost more like therapy where, for example, with Mary Bragg, we wrote a few songs and she would always challenge me to say, what's the story? Like what what are you actually trying to say? and in sometimes in like jazz and list songs and those sorts of a process of writing in jazz, I was finding that I was veering away from a story and making sure that I had a rhyme scheme and a clever melody, but not so much what's the story behind it. That's really what we were trying to get at. And that's the same thing with this new song, Snow Angels, that I've shared with you that we just released. It's kind of like as we were writing it was on first draft, it was something, and it was it was a scene, but it wasn't really a story yet. And as I let it percolate and take shape, I was challenged by the producer and a couple other folks who were listening to it to say, you need to tell the story a little bit more.
Interesting. So what changes did you make?
Well, so I was looking for where I was in that picture, not necessarily that it had to be, oh, there's Steven and he's doing something in that scene, but where is the heart of that storyline? So the song Snow Angels tells the story about two lovers that are in a field playing this childhood game that's that we've all played in the wintertime. But then what's the storyline where what's the angle that I'm coming at to make it unique? And I think as a mid-career, middle-aged person, I wanted to tell the storyline of how am I looking at this in a nostalgic way, perhaps? So I'm saying I don't want us to grow old. I don't want to leave the moment. I really want it to last forever. That's really the angle I found into the story.
So did you start off to write a Christmas song? Like you thought, okay, I'm going to write a Christmas song, or?
Yeah, the song, it's strange because we just put out a single, but we've actually recorded the whole Christmas album. I thought, we'll tease out this song this year, and I've put out an album earlier in this year. I don't want to just get rid of spoil all the surprises all at once. So I was actually in Dartmouth recording with Daniel Ledwell, and so this is one of the songs I felt that it kind of followed in the same direction as this 2023 album, and then is a good preview for the full Christmas album.
Oh, right. Well, because lots of people, think they want to do a Christmas song, which means you really have to start in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is weird. Yeah. And of course, the famous story of I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas is because it was written in Los Angeles during a heat wave. So, he actually was dreaming of a white Christmas. And
the song What Are You Doing New Year's Eve, which is also another favorite of mine, was actually not intended to be a Christmas song. It was just happens to be, it refers to New Year's, so it's always pops up during the holidays.
Well, and it's like, what's that, the Pogue song, Fairy Tale of New York. I mean, it was like, it is Christmas. It's not, for me, it's not Christmas unless I hear that song. And it's not really very, they talk about Christmas very often, but it's not really a Christmas song, but it's certainly a Christmas song to me. So.
Yeah. I love it. And I grew up just in love with all sorts of Christmas material. And so I wanted to really take a stab at writing some, both as a challenge to write something that's different, but also to sneak peek, it's actually meant to be part of a Christmas musical that I'm seeding.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully in the next couple of years to put together as a project. So there's a narrative that goes with the album. But this year, Snow Angels is a single, and we'll see where it goes.
That's a great idea. If anyone ever is interested in the old standards, there's a wonderful album called Christmas with a Rat Pack. And it has Christmas tunes and a lot of Christmas tunes that, that aren't standards, with Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra and all those guys. And it's just, again, it's not Christmas unless I hear that album with that old, these standards. So I want to talk about Snow Angels because I listen to a lot of that kind of music, the jazz from the 40s, and they have a certain quality of backing vocals that people just don't do anymore because it's kind of old fashioned. But you do it here, which when I heard it, I started laughing. I was just going, "This is so cool." The backing vocals, they're right out of the 40s, and I'm like, how do you find anyone to arrange those, let alone actually perform them?
Yeah, and that is in large part due to the producer Daniel Ledwell. He's this master that plays all the instruments basically, except save for some drums. And we had this idea because the song has a bit of a nostalgic lyric, and the melody, the instrumentation, we wanted to follow in the same direction. And as soon as we were playing through it, we had the idea that it was just, kind of a Roy Orbison, kind of that sort of direction where there's some nice tight harmonies in the background vocals. And it doesn't hurt that Danny's partner, Jenn Grant, who's a brilliant songwriter and artist in her own right, she popped in and recorded with another couple of people. And it just, it wasn't even necessary to make the arrangement. When they're that talented, they were just in the room and they're like, let's sing this part. Oh, like swoopy, tight harmonies. And we all just started laughing that it was just of that time already. Yeah, I'm really excited where it went.
It is so cool. And there's a really interesting variation on your, because the way I hear it, I hear like verse 1, verse 2, chorus, verse 1, verse 2, chorus. That there's a really nice variation on the first line of your second verse, right, which I'm always wondering about where to put that variation. Do you put it at the beginning, at the end, in the middle? Because you do need, I think, some variation. Just repeating the whole melody from verse 1 to verse 2, I always think is, people can kind of do it, but I love those little details where they're just like these little sort of, bits of polish. Was that something that you had to play around with a lot, or?
We wanted to, in writing the chord progression, that style of vintage music, I'll say Roy Orbison, Patsy Cline, that sort of thing. There's all this lovely chromaticism where, it's passing tones that move in between the chord progression. So you hear this really, I just wanted to create a little bit more texture and crunchiness as the song went along. So you're not just getting the same thing each time you encounter the verse. It's actually something that moves along the story. And so there's, on the first part, it moves into a major sort of standard progression. And the second part, as you're mentioning, second part of the first verse, and which recurs the second time as well, moves into a minor. So it has a bit of a keep you interested moment.
I love that. That is so tasty because it's sometimes as songwriters, when we do stuff, we want people to know that we're doing stuff. Right. So you kind of almost, they call it in comedy, putting a hat on a hat. You're just going like, hey, look at this, what we're doing. Here's the thing, here's the thing, here's the thing. And it kind of kills it a bit. And This doesn't do it. It's just wonderful. Let's take a listen and then we'll talk about it some more.
That's great.
Snow angels in a field of white, lying side by side, our arms are open wide. Two lovers laughing in the snow. The world is put on hold. Hearts are warm, our hands are cold. Snow angels, snow angels, snow angel by my side. Let's fly away tonight. Snow angels beneath the starry sky. I close my eyes and try to freeze this moment in my mind. Two dreamers lost in a childhood game that we as grown-ups play. I wish that we would always stay. Snow angels, snow angels, snow angel by my side. Snow angels, snow angels, snow angel by my side. Fly away with me tonight.
Very cool. Also, I appreciate the line, let's fly away tonight. It's really tasty, and I could see that being very tempting to want to put that throughout the whole song, but you didn't. You only used it twice, which is, restraint is very tough with these tasty bits of things. I thought that was really great.
Well, we wanted to, as I was recording it, there were a couple lines through the song that went in a direction that was more relying on the angel imagery. And as I was singing it, Danny, the producer, was saying, now let's think about whether or not it's starting to become a bit preachy or the angel choir or something like that. So someone who, this is a story about two lovers in a field and not necessarily a religious commentary or spiritual.
Right.
Moment. So kind of always keeping in mind that as a lover could be a nickname could be angel, or a term of endearment, kind of leaning more on the relationship than the esoteric angel idea.
So it sounds like this song was kind of in flux a lot of times. Like, are you writing in the studio or?
Yeah, I mean, as I find that as I'm going into the studio, I have a pretty good idea of what I'd like to hear, and then the lyrics can stay in flux a little bit. I was just listening to this interview with Mary Gauthier, and I beat myself up sometimes not having the song finished quickly. And she was saying that she wrote the song. I don't know if you know Mary Gauthier's work well, but her song "I Drink," which is all about her experience with alcoholism. And she was saying that she wrote the song over several years, that there was some phrase that was always bothering her, and she just kept coming back to it to make sure that it was authentic. And
Nice.
so, yeah, certainly this song had a couple different versions of it as we went along. And I think, thankfully, I was challenged to keep working on it.
Well, that's okay. I know I've said this before, but I remember reading an article about Elvis Costello, and he says he has songs that takes him years. He says everything is done except for that one line, and he comes and he tries a bunch of lines, and he goes, "No, it's not quite there," and then just keeps on working at it. So, and for me, it takes forever for me to write lyrics at all, but it's because that's certainly not my forte. So I would certainly not throw any stones in that. But yeah, so how long?
Just write 64 verses and you can pick from.
That's true. God, that would take me the rest of my life, I think. The way I write is I actually do I'll do the melody and just go da, 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 and then I'll walk around and sort of until like words kind of find their place, and then I sort of stitch stuff together through that. So it's but apparently Brian Ferry works that way, so I don't feel too bad about that.
That's the scrambled eggs, let it be storyline.
Yeah. Well, and it's the whole thing about the narrative is something that I've never really been a narrative guy, sort of consciously, and I guess that's one of the great things about working with Nashville folk is because they are, that world is very much of a story song world,
Yeah, and so like I think we talked about last time, the Brill building kind of output of people being in session every 4 hours. The door revolves, and there's a new story. So I think it's just like working out. The more you can exercise those muscles or those creative juices, it's just remarkable what sort of output they have. It's really incredible.
Are you going to do a video of the song, do you think?
So we put out a little teaser video. If you go on Instagram, it's one of the last several posts. It's about a minute long. We just wanted to give a little sense of what it would look like visually. And then next year, when we put out the full Christmas album, we'll have a couple more feature music videos and live videos to accompany.
Oh, that's really cool. Have you had a chance to perform this live yet?
So December 7 in London, Ontario at the Aeolian Hall, and December 16 at Hughes Room in Toronto here. We'll hear some of them. It's very exciting.
The new Hughes Room. Yeah, there's a brand new Hughes Room, which is a very unique place in Toronto, actually, which was very much built for songwriters and people who really care about songs as opposed to a bar or restaurant, which happens to have music. But so now, will it just be you and a piano, or will it be you and a band, or?
Thankfully, not just me and a piano. I have some great musicians that I'm playing with. It'll be a full band lineup: keys, 2 guitars, bass, drums, and it gives a little bit of some of it's more like in the classic Christmas, some jazz, some roots, some stripped down singer-songwriter. I'm really excited to share some of the new material.
Oh, that's going to be great. It's you have backing vocals?
Yeah, two of the
wow.
Singing and playing guitar are much more talented than me, being able to do that. And we're going to teach the audience some of the songs so they can sing along. One of them is kind of like a I want to say like a Beach Boys chorus. So
Oh, cool.
a lot of audience participation on it. I'll take the video. I'll send it to you.
That'll be brilliant. So what's apart from the shows, what's coming up next for you? Are you working on more songs or?
Yeah, I received Factor funding, which is a granting body. The Arts Councils and the Factor, which is the Foundation of Recording, funded through the radio stations, gave me money towards this last album. And so I'm trying to make the most of it and tour through the US a little bit.
Nice.
This spring. And then just slowly, it's a nice cycle right now where all the applications for festivals, artists can submit for summer festivals next year. And that's what I'm doing right now. Copy, paste, send out as quickly as we can.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and touring, getting across the border apparently can be a bit of a challenge, I've heard.
It's a whole thing right now. Hopefully it becomes easier, but it doesn't seem to be moving in that direction for Canadians, unfortunately.
Oh, sure.
More expensive, a little bit more tricky to get across the border.
But well worth it, I think, because you certainly can, it's, I was talking with a friend and the thing about St. John's is it's, about like the 10th of the size of Toronto. So there's lots of space between St. John's and, Toronto or Montreal or pretty well anywhere. And so touring in Canada can be a bit of a challenge because there's just not that many people. Whereas in the US, you can be exposed to many more people in a much shorter amount of time, which is a great thing. And
there. You around an hour and you're in the next city with 1 million people, and
that's true. You drive an hour out of Toronto and you wind up in, Kitchener. So, not that there's anything wrong with Kitchener, but this is a great song, and I think it's good. It's. I'm always interested to see which ones become standards, because, of course, if it becomes a standard, then you won't have to rely on factor grants anymore, I don't think. If all goes well. Indeed. Well, that's absolutely a great song. Thanks so much, Steven, for coming back. Of course, you'll be back again sometime, and, because you're always welcome on the show with your big musical brain.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
So that's all the time we have on Song Talk Radio, because we can hear the band. Don't forget to send us your thoughts and comments on anything we say on the show at feedback@songtalk.ca. You can find all the books and resources and stuff that we mentioned on the show notes at the website, as well as on our resources page at the at songtalk.ca. And if you happen to be in the Toronto area or even online, you can join us for the next Song Talk Radio meetup. It's a great way of sharing your songs in progress with other songwriters and get useful feedback, as opposed to, oh, isn't that nice? Because that doesn't do anyone any good. Stop by the website for the link. It's free to join, free to attend, and always a blast. One month we'll do it live in Toronto, and the other time we do it online. And we have people from all over the world online. Australia, New York, England and stuff, so it's always a blast, so please join us. You can get more of me at philemery.ca and more of Neil at neilmodi.com. Steven, where can people get more of you?
On all social media, you can follow me at Steven with a V, Steven, and last name Taetz, Steven Taetz, and StevenTaetz.com for everything else.
And what's your favorite social media?
Instagram,
yes. Everyone loves the Instagram. I need to get onto. Well, actually, I have an Instagram post. I just never actually use it, so maybe that's a problem. Anyways, thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you again next time. And remember, keep on writing. Good night. en route. That's a brilliant, it's a brilliant tight show. I love these shows. They're just, great stuff. Yeah, and that is, I love that tune. There are so many lovely, subtle, like they're kind of almost nods to other songwriters. They'll go, "Oh, you're gonna like this," and I love that stuff because a lot of pop music doesn't have that anymore. It's just cookie cutter, and they're feeding the machine, and that's their job, and that's okay. But that's not what I listen to music for. I listen to those little things, and it's a blast of a song, man.
Thank you. If you don't know Jenn Grant's material too, Danny, her partner who produced this song, is just a genius in terms of creating these really beautiful vintage tunes. She has a song called Judy, and it sounds like a Patsy Cline tune that's just like a big like Motown meets Patsy. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I love that stuff. And who knows, maybe that, like right now, the music styles are so, they're very small musical ranges. And maybe, eventually kids will get tired of that, or, they don't want to listen to what their parents listen to. So maybe, more stuff better melodies will come back in vogue, let's hope.
Yeah.
But
and singers with a broader range too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and but the nice thing about the world is it's not as tightly pushed by radio. So there's people who love all sorts of kinds of music now. It's not quite as good things and bad things, all the way through.
Yeah, totally. Nice to
right.
Thank you so much. This was great to reconnect.
Thanks so much. And sorry Neil couldn't make it, but his wife took him on a birthday trip down to Cleveland, I think, to see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, wonderful!
So they're leaving on a jet plane. So I can understand that. We will send you an email when the show goes live, and if you could share that with your folks, that would be awesome. And if you know anyone who likes to talk songs, send them our way because we're always looking for new people to talk to.
Will do, for sure. Yeah, I will.
Awesome.
I'll that and send you a list.
Thanks so much. Have a great evening, and we'll be in touch.
All the best. Thanks.
All right, bye now.